If only this music was being played on a synthesizer, then and only then would it be the fitting Miami Vice score. And that is the TV show that James Rana and myself are going to talk about today. You could think of us as your radio equivalent to Crockett and Tubbs.
I am wearing the suit and the sunglasses
You're
right
definitely
now.
Tubbs right now. Well, you're kind of a mixture of both, because Tubbs always wore the nice suits. Crockett always wore the jacket and the shirt with the sunglasses hanging in them, and of course no socks.
Which is how you dressed in high school.
Light pastels. And I did, God help us all, I was such a fan of Miami Vice and the whole idea of Sonny Crockett that in my 14-year-old self convinced my mother to buy me an outfit very similar to what Don Johnson would have worn on the show. And I went to school, first day of school, and I remember a female student, as I walked in, very cocky, very arrogant, thinking I was just the coolest guy in the world. I remember a female student going, "Whoa," but not in like a good way. That's what I remember. She was like, "Whoa," almost, like,
stay away from this guy.
Yeah, something's really wrong.
It was either that or the fact that you weren't wearing socks.
That's true. That's true. Maybe I announced myself before I came into view. But Miami Vice, Brandon Tartikoff writes down on a piece of paper, MTV Cops. And that's the whole gist of the entire show. MTV had a lock on music television at the time, obviously, and NBC wanted to get into some of that action. Eventually they would have, was it NBC that had Friday Night Videos?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that ran for a long time.
At first, they said, we got to have a show where we can use contemporary pop songs in the show, which up to that point really hadn't been done. Usually it was a song written specifically for a show or a sound-alike song. It's like, oh, that sort of sounds like Live and Let Die, but it's really not Live and Let Die. So Miami Vice used, in its first 2-hour opener, Phil Collins' In the Air Tonight, in a very tense scene where they were going after this drug lord. And I think one of the things that makes Miami Vice stand out as a TV show, if you put it up against Columbo or Adam 12 or whatever cop show. Look, Hill Street Blues was the first sort of adult cop
that was
show.
Gritty, though.
Right, gritty, but it was also like, run-of-the-mill stuff. This is what cops actually go through, sitting in the car and, drinking coffee and talking. And but Miami Vice, Crockett and Tubbs were undercover, which meant that they had to dress, because they were undercover as drug dealers. So they dressed, I guess, as drug dealers would dress in 1984 in Miami, which was Tubbs with the really nice suits.
The red. Always red, like red.
Well, he had a red or a blue. He always had something, really, really nice. He was styling. And Crockett, of course, the sort of laid-back, I don't know what you would call it.
The Don Johnson
Man
look.
of Lee. The Don Johnson man with the 5 o'clock shadow. Of
which
course.
I sort of have.
Which you're cultivating. I see. As you said, you're an amalgamation of Crockett and Tubbs.
Well, here's the funny thing. I was very much aware of Miami Vice. It was part of our culture, but it was a little too adult. And I hate to say this, I found that the storyline was a little too much for me. That's why, people my age, the kids my age, we immediately ran to a show about a guy who's solving crimes with the talking car.
Right.
We
You
were
went
into
to Knight
the
Rider.
A-Team.
Manimal, maybe?
No, not really.
But Simon McCorkindale?
But what I'm saying is, those were, for my age at the time,
Right.
it made sense. Now, if I was going to go back, and I know you have the DVDs, it makes much more sense, because NBC really spent money on this show.
Yes. Not only did they pay for the rights to these songs every week, but it had a cinematic quality. It's the one thing that set it apart from other shows at the time.
It's the brainchild of Michael Mann.
Right. Michael Mann, who later went on to do, he did the first movie that eventually became the Silence of the Lambs franchise. He did Manhunter. Miami Vice had obviously a style to it and a look and a color scheme, pastels. Those were the colors. And they shot on location in Miami. And if they were shooting somewhere and the building wasn't the right color, they would paint it.
Are you serious?
Yeah, so the city of Miami was actually sort of thrilled that the production team would come out and renovate buildings and things so that it would look good on the show.
How big were the ratings for Miami Vice?
The ratings were huge. I think the initial TV movie got a pretty decent rating. Don Johnson and Philip Michael Thomas became sex symbols, really, and they were interviewed all over on television, on Entertainment Tonight,
and they each put out their own album.
Well, yes. Shortly after the first season, Philip Michael Thomas was the first one. He put out his album, which I still remember the name all these years later.
What is?
Living the Book of My Life.
Living the Book of My Life.
Living the Book of My Life. And he had a 7-inch single, which I bought. in the full flush of Miami Vice fandom, right after that first season, I went out and bought the 7-inch for his single. And I remember listening to it and going, oh, okay. Because Miami Vice put out an album. You know, they put out songs from Miami Vice. And they put out 3 volumes of them.
And I think they also I think they used that song from Philip Michael Thomas.
He sang it on the show, a cappella. Right. There was a moment where he gets on Sonny Crockett's boat, and he's like, live in the book of my life, for no reason.
And then out of nowhere, Don Johnson's like, hey, I think I'm going to put out a song also.
And all of a sudden, that's a huge hit. And he has sort of a legitimate singing career for a while. Remember, he had a hit with Barbra Streisand. I forget the name of it.
Philip also coined that little term, EGOT.
Meaning? Emmy,
Grammy, Oscar, Tony.
Oh, that's what he was going.
He said he was going to win them all. He got a Golden Globe nomination for Best Supporting Actor on a series he didn't win.
That should be enough for everybody, really.
Yeah.
But the first season of the show, you know, the opening movie, the police captain dies, and they get the new police captain, played by Edward James Olmos.
Oh, who was great.
Who whispered throughout the entire series. You know, it was always like, Crockett, Tubbs, I need you to go over there.
Michael Richards, before Kramer on Seinfeld, he played a drug dealer on an episode, but I think the one episode that became very well known was the famous Liam Neeson episode where he played a priest. Remember that episode?
Really? I'll have to watch that
It's a really good episode. He plays an Irish priest.
Ed O'Neill played a guy who was a drug dealer I think he was a gambler, a sort of a gambler drug dealer type.
How was he?
Very, very serious. It was like a young, thin Ed O'Neill with hair. And of course, Phil Collins, some stunt casting because In the Air Tonight became a hit all over again because it was in Miami Vice. So they brought him in on the show. And Glenn Frey wrote a song, Smuggler's Blues, in 1985 that had nothing to do with Miami Vice. He was such a fan of the show and inspired by the show that he wrote that song. The show incorporated the song into the show and then had him be an actor on the show.
How long did Miami Vice run for?
I think it ran up until maybe the very early 90s. I think it probably went off around 1992.
Then they did that big finale. Did they do a reunion movie? They did a movie.
Did they do a reunion movie?
I know the final episode, it's open-ended where they get in the car and they just start driving.
Well, here's the thing. The first season of Miami Vice, I was a huge fan. And I don't know what happened. I watched the second season premiere, and it was they went to New York. Crockett and Tubbs go to New York for a 2-hour premiere, and I lost interest immediately.
It's like Vance and Coy.
And then I never returned. So here I was that's the definition of a fad, you know, as far as I'm concerned. I was way heavy into it that first year. Second year comes out, I watched the opening, and then I never watched it again.
Well, you know, I mean, the idea of Sonny Crockett, he kind of morphed into Nash Bridges anyway. So.
Well, later on. Yeah. By the way, there were Miami Vice tie-in novels. Published by Pocketbooks.
Are you kidding me?
And I bought them.
It
was like getting a new episode of Miami Vice. It just took a lot longer to get through.
And you read those books. We also discussed previously on another episode, we discussed Miami Mice.
Yes, there was. It was so popular that it inspired a comic book parody, Miami Mice. I forget the name of the comic book company that put it out, but several issues, and I bought those.
Of course you did.
I know that Sheena Easton was brought on the show to play Don Johnson's wife. And by the way, he lived on a boat and he had a crocodile named Elvis. Do you remember that?
I think I do. And this is during the time he's married to Melanie Griffith.
Yeah, I think so, right? And prior to this, he was best known for the science fiction end of the world movie A Boy and His Dog. And of course, in the Grand Theft Auto video games, there's one of the installments is Vice City, which is set in Miami, and it's all sort of a tribute to Miami Vice. And Philip Michael Thomas does some of the voices of the characters in the video game.
He, pretty much after Miami Vice, he would become one of the stars of Psychic Friends, and he would wear his Miami Vice outfit and say, "From Miami, Florida to
the planet Mongo." So he did, and of course, Don Johnson went into Nash Bridges.
He pretty much went quickly because I think the movie career ended.
Yeah, I think Nash Bridges was like, the mid-'90s.
Well, you know what I think would happen to Don Johnson?
Yasmin Bleeth. Remember that? She was a big thing in that show.
I think the thing what happened to Don Johnson was that...
Marin.
And Cheech Marin. But the two of them had done the movie Tin Cup together.
No.
That's the Kevin Costner.
That's Kevin Costner.
That's the person that I think took away Don Johnson's movie
career. You think
career.
Kevin Costner came along?
I think Kevin Costner stole Don Johnson's movie career.
It could have been Don Johnson in Field of Dreams, is what you're saying.
No, but... Yeah,
it could have been.
No, wait a minute. Don Johnson is in Tin Cup.
Is he?
He plays the bad guy or just the jerk.
Oh.
So you see, I wasn't so far off.
Don Johnson in Bull Durham? It could have happened.
It could have been.
You know, Don Johnson could have been like the Burt Reynolds of the 80s. He could have done a bunch of those, or the 90s. But, you know, he's had a comeback. He's had a comeback as of late because he was in the Machete movie. I think the last, or the first one. He might be in the new one. I don't know.
And his daughter's going to be the star of 50 Shades of Grey, so he's a proud father.
Is she really?
Yes. Did the Miami Vice company, did they put out a line of that wardrobe line? Or
no, I don't think they had an official wardrobe line. They should have, though. That's like the one thing they didn't do. And again, you know, poor me. I dressed up like that when I was 14 thinking that I resembled Don Johnson. But instead, I looked more like Jay North from Dennis the Menace. Well, Don Johnson could pull it off. I couldn't. Remember The Wedding Singer? There was a guy dressed like Don Johnson in The Wedding Singer, the Adam Sandler movie with Drew Barrymore, set in 1985, which would be the year for Miami Vice. I think we've said it all. Oh, wait, there was a movie. Remember a couple of years ago they did a theatrical movie? It was
Jamie
awful.
Foxx and Colin Farrell.
Awful movie.
Horrible idea.
Awful. And I went to see it in a theater. That's how sad I am.
You could see that movie did so well with all the sequels.
You could buy it now at 7-Eleven for $3. There you go.
was there any catchphrase or slogan that they would say on the show that you remember?
Cocaine is awesome. I don't know.
On that note,
yeah, I don't think they didn't really have a catchphrase on that show. I think the catchphrase was when Philip Michael Thomas sang a cappella, "Live in the book of my life."
EGOT.